I'm Wen Sun, and I'm the CEO of Smarking. For folks who are not familiar with Smarking, we are a technology company based in San Francisco. We work with businesses whoever own or manage parking assets, and essentially enable parking professionals to take advantage and leverage off the real-time and historical parking data to maximize net operating income, reduce costs, and accelerate recovery from the COVID pandemic. So today, our session today is really the last show for the year that we plan to share with everybody here a little bit about what we're seeing most recently on the market from a data standpoint, and also what are some of the learnings at Smarking we've got from leading operators, including ABM Parking, One Parking, Premier Parking, across the country when it comes to some of the successful practices when it comes to help recover the revenue and so on. And we'll make some recommendations for 2021 at the end. As Sarah said, if you have questions, please feel free to put it into the chat, and I would love to have a discussion after the sharing of the content. Wonderful. Then without further ado, we'll jump right in. So essentially, we all know that, talking about the agenda already, essentially, we all know that COVID hit our industry really hard this year. Essentially, from a numbers standpoint, so far, what we're seeing is from an off-street parking activity standpoint, back in April, that month, all aggregated from off-street parking number of transactions, transient plus contract, we were at the bottom, we were down about 85%. Up until today, coming into early December, late November, we're back to about down 55% or so. So since April, when we were in the valley point, we are 30%, 29% more recovered. So I'd say clearly we've had some sessions previously compared to some other international markets, like in UK, Australia, China markets. To be honest, this winter is real tough. We're only about 50% back. The recovery was actually slightly better back in October and September, but the second wave impact is real. Shortly, I'll walk everybody through some of the time series data to see, okay, year to date, what has been the case. Before then, just as a comparison, from a on-street parking activity standpoint, just to help put things into perspectives, back in April, we were slightly more down in terms of on-street parking activities. It was down 87%. We only had about 13 or so percent left. But now coming into late November, it's pretty much on par. It's 53% down, slightly more recovery, 33%, 34% from an on-street standpoint. Now, all of these are transactions. We'll dive right deeper into, from a time standpoint, from a market standpoint, what we're really seeing, leveraging the industry's first industry benchmark tool from Smarking. So, as you can see, in the beginning of the pandemic, a lot of our friends, partners, and customers made a request saying that, hey, Smarking, the industry is obviously at a tough spot. We don't know what's happening with our sites. We don't know what is happening across the board. Can you guys help us? Because you were working with so many parking facilities. So for everybody's information, today we support about 2,500 parking facilities across North America, majority in the US, some in Canada, Toronto, Vancouver, and we most recently initiated work in Australia as well. But majority of the data here, we're focused on the North America market. As I mentioned earlier, we can see across the market what is the trend in terms of North America and in different metropolitan areas. So for off-street parking, we included both surface lots and the garages on a monthly basis year to date for both contract and transient parking. We're randomly sampling about 940 parking sites here. If we take a look at the year-over-year transactions kind of sort of change, back in April, as we said, it was down 81%. when it comes to the total amount of transactions. The recovery got back to about 47, down 47%, or we actually recovered more than 50% back in October. But then clearly, when it comes down to November and December, there is pretty clear second wave impact. Compare just the most recent month to date, December versus October, there is more than 10% of difference there. So again, our view is this winter is tough. Before things get better, it may get even worse. We all just need to brace the impact and then try surviving. Besides the nationwide trend, I think it is also interesting to see some of regions, because we see differences in different regions. If we take a quick look at some of the markets, for example, in New York, if we take a quick look at, let's say we're interested in transient only from a revenue standpoint, basically back in, let's just take a look at the market. Back in April, it was really bad. New York had about, from transient revenue standpoint, 5% left. May was still pretty bad, but back in October, New York was more than 70% recovered, which is amazing, way ahead of the rest of the market. Some things we've learned from New York market is the city basically made on-street parking free for restaurant dining, and there is a real shift from public transportation to drive and park. All of those hypotheses we all had beginning of the pandemic came to realization in New York. But still, even for New York, it's pretty clear that now it's back down to 44% down. We're just slightly above half recovered. So this is clearly, in our view, the second wave impact, even New York. Some other market, let's see if we were interested in Boston or so. We can basically see some of the trend as well. But the whole point is really that nationwide, we're about half recovered. The second wave impact is clear. Regionally, we have different distributions. Some markets like New York, Miami, rather recovered than the others. From a recovery standpoint, we also see that there is a distribution beyond the variations in different markets. The speed for recovering in terms of online sales and offline sales is slightly different. If we take a look at transient online only in a lot of the markets, so we partnered up with, let's see, the North America, and here today, we partnered up with a great technology company, Arrive in Chicago. We've been using anonymized data from over 15 markets across the nation. Back in April, as we can see for online sales, it was also just we were down 90%, very on par with transient parking. But back in September nationwide, we were already more than half recovered. I'd say online sales is slightly ahead of offline sales. It's also another trend at the time. But again, this is most recently, it's not looking too good. So when it comes to view of what to expect coming into Q1, as I mentioned, we believe it's going to be a tough winter, and the most important thing is let's survive. But the question comes down to now, how do we do that? That is the hard part. Great news is, in the past 9 months, we were very fortunate to work with some of the leading operators in the industry, as I mentioned, ABM Industries, One Parking Premier, and learned a ton from them. There are full case studies. If you search Smarking blog in Google, the first link you tap on it, you will see some of the stories fully published and downloadable from PDF. But I'll just walk through some high levels today to share with everybody what are some of the successful practices that has produced fruit in this very tough environment. So immediately, I would imagine everybody would understand in this new environment, the demand pattern changed, and that that basically produces a huge challenge when it comes to pricing. Pricing is a very important thing when it comes to operating parking. So what we are hearing and seeing is, because of COVID, new commuter patterns emerged. Basically, people are working from home. Some people are doing 2-3 days in the office. And clearly that impacts how everybody uses parking. Although there are differences in different markets, but the general trend is pre-COVID, post-COVID, there's a huge shift in terms of how people are using monthly parking. Now, beyond that, because of this, related to this, the peak entry times, duration of stay for majority of the new demand is also very different. And a lot of times we hear people saying, the monthly parkers are shifting to daily parkers, and we're really not sure if we're gaining the market or if we're losing the market in this environment. So it's chaotic. A lot of things are happening. And because of the demand pattern shift, the challenges in the parking rates is basically just some of this is only the tip of the iceberg. A lot of other challenges we're not even touching on yet, but because of this demand pattern shift, clearly and in the past month, it has been rapid changes month over month. Back in April, people were saying, we'll come back in May, and a lot of employers are calling for monthly parking. And then coming into May, June, people were saying, maybe after the summer, Labor Day, and then things changed again. And then after Labor Day, people say, maybe next spring. Things are changing all the time, and clearly that makes it hard to adjust our pricing following this rapid changes. And there will be a lot more changes coming into 2021. The good news is vaccines out now. We see the light at the end of the tunnel, but the distribution of vaccine takes time, and a lot of local policy would come into play to determine what markets would really effectively reopen. For example, here in California, we shut down again. Unfortunately, over the holidays, it's very strict to stay at home order. And parking obviously got heavily impacted by that. And beyond that, before COVID, when the world was really good, we were updating rates quarterly, maybe annually, and things are good. We don't have to worry about it. The demand was really good. Business was really good. But what now, right? Things are changing all the time. What should we do with this new dynamics? We can't just sit here and then twiddling our thumb and then not do anything, obviously. We need to do what we can. And basically, the ultimate question comes down to, is your current rates really capturing the current demand, maximizing the current yield maximizing the yield with the current demand? All of these questions, all of these challenges emerge just because of the COVID impact. Now, some of the good things that we've learned from a lot of forward thinking and leading operators when it comes to pricing, one thing, the number one strategy I would share here is the start point is you can manage what you measure, and you measure the rate change impact, because we see the demand impact. We have third and thesis, hypothesis, and we put them into action. A lot of times it's so hard for us to pay attention to track the actual impact and then come back and then adjust it. But that cycle is extremely important. That cycle is extremely important because and completely understand, a lot of our managers are busy putting out fires. So many things to worry about. We have less staff, we have more work to worry about. But when it comes to the results, the revenue performance, it's extremely important to make sure we're paying attention to measuring the results of the price change impact. If not, then it's basically we're just scrambling. Nothing positive is really gonna happen. So our partner Premier in Nashville, based in Nashville, they're, I think, operating just over 500 sites. That's the number I got pre-COVID across the nation. And as of October, this is one of the highlights. One of their location in Nashville, they were able to run through the cycle of monitor the location's performance really closely, essentially on a daily basis. I don't know if it's a leased location, but obviously it deserves that kind of attention. And not only monitoring the performance, but also constantly adjust the rates based off the newly observed pattern. And then you watch the results, and then you adjust it again. They have designated yield management specialists on team just to do these as full-time jobs. So basically, net result of that is they were able to see year-over-year positive revenue changes for some of the locations. Not all locations, that's a given, but for the locations where we can see highlights, especially for leased locations, absolutely we wanted to do that. And the key really comes down to, do you have your real-time data available so that you can actually track the results, the rate change impact? I would say that is really market standard these days. You're really behind if you don't have it. And but the thing is, having it is only the start point, because not only you need the tool, the real work is done by human beings. Your yield management specialists, your operations managers, people who are working with the clients at all times. Those people, they need to pay attention to these data, see the impact, adjust again, and then measure that cycle, keep it running. So that is one thing I thought I shared that could really help. Now, one last thing I'll mention here is to a certain extent, this kind of practice is not only really popular in the people who are seeing some good results in today's environment from the operators world, but in the municipality, in the owners world, in the commercial real estate owners world, people have such expectations. It's no news anymore. People have such expectations that this is what you should be doing. This is how you should work, and this is the kind of sort of the way things should be done. Price should be determined, should be updated. You cannot just change it every year. That is not going to meet the post-COVID kind of sort of dynamic environment. So that's that. Beyond that, obviously, a lot of us got the request. Lots of our partners and clients got a request from, let's say, their clients, say, oh, hey, let's curb the expense. The environment is tough, survival is important, let's curb the expense. And everybody knows headcount is the #1 expense threat to pull. How do we do that? It's extremely important that and obviously recovery is going to take some time. It is not happening as soon as we want it. It's going to take some time, and but at the same time, also the clients, the landlord, they would say, oh, I still need people to keep the facility open. I want my customers to get the parkers get taken care of. Then it's a pickle. Like, how do I decide? Do I have 2 people, 3 people, 1 people? How do I even do the shifts in this very dynamic environment? So when it comes to that, the key is also, to a certain extent, similar business logic. You need to measure and then manage. You need to understand what the demand is, and then make those staffing decisions based off the demand. Not just, okay, pre-COVID we had 3 people, now we just all of a sudden pull back 3 people, or just randomly making decisions. If we're short-staffed, it's also trouble. When the recovery is coming back, we need to watch very closely. So a partner of ours, we're not naming names here, based in Chicago, was able to pull off analysis together with our professional service / in-house kind of a customer success team to do some analysis for a few locations with our real-time data, and was able to determine not only just based off the occupancy or number of transactions throughout the day. That is really, I'd say, rough. You need to go to the granularity of our hourly basis throughout the day, for weekdays, Mondays, Tuesdays, for each day. What is a pattern in the past 3 months, in the past 2 weeks, in terms of the peak entry, how many people, peak exit, how many people, at what hour, and then really turn that into something that you can rely on to turn that into the staffing decision. Say, we actually need 2 shifts, not 3, at this and this hours, and so on and so forth, to really, at the same, while we're taking care of the locations, at the same time, we're making sure we're minimizing the expenses there. So a data-driven kind of sort of staffing management is the key over here to curb the expense. And on the other hand, it's also important that for higher level managers to be able to do these things safely and remotely, socially distancing, work on their laptop from home, but being able to call out people and then do the scheduling instead of having to visit location all the time and so on, to minimize the risk of COVID infection within the staff team is extremely important. Technology could really be leveraged to help on a lot of these things in today's environment. So data-driven, demand-driven staffing to curb expenses. Another theme here, a topic here is, we all know that in this new environment, a lot of the situation is everybody was worried in the beginning, but actually coming into Q3, people were thinking, okay, how can we come back? Because there is a natural shift because of this whole pandemic impact in terms of the business, the market share in different micro or metropolitan areas. The markets, some people, there are wins and losses of business. Some business survive, some others cannot. Because of this shift, a lot of new opportunities emerge. At any time, parking is not going to go away. Let's be realistic. There are 250 million passenger cars in this country, and people are driving around every day. There's no way the landlords will be able to just say, okay, I'm done with parking. No way. Parking is not going to go away. The business is going to be there. Landscape is shifting. We all want more business. It's so clear. We all want more business. But how to get that business? Pre-COVID, we always go to bid meetings, whatnot. Sure, it's everybody say I'm different. There is a real opportunity to show difference and make a difference in this post-COVID-19 world, to actually really expand hard with emerging opportunities. One of our partners, One Parking, with headquarters based in West Palm Beach, Florida, when it comes to not only the new business, but also retaining existing clients and also the new business opportunities. One thing they did was really smart. They were able to essentially, you guys may remember earlier in the session, I showed the industry benchmark. I'll bring that back later, again, just to show that not only we can see the market data, but also we can help you to benchmark your location against the market. Nationwide, you can compare across North America. Regional, you can compare with your region. Not only to see the delta in different time frames of your revenue year-over-year performance and so on, but also rank your location across the market. So One Parking was able to identify opportunities to quantify that impact. Say, look, client, the market is really down. Everybody is doing this. We're down as well, but we're actually much better off because following this quantified results, the delta we're seeing here, we're ranking better than 70% of the locations across the market. You ought to give us more business. And not only you ought to give us more business, you gotta, when your friends have more business, you gotta call us up, because even in today's environment, we can provide that resilience, we can provide that capability to recover. I thought that was really, really smart. When we built the industry benchmark, we thought, okay, now let's help our friends to see what the market is. But this is really to gain new business with this kind of tool is, I'd say, amazing. Let's definitely do that. And well, call us up, call me up. Let us know how we can support you to get more business opportunities. Okay, I'll share some contact info at the end of the session. So there is growth opportunity even during COVID in this recovery phase, absolutely. And we encourage our partners, our friends in the industry to leverage off the tools, technology, data you have, and highlight your success against the market, and then really differentiate and then gain more business in this drastically shifting market. One more thing I'll bring up here, beyond the strategies on watch your demand pattern and adjust your price a lot more frequently, granularly, and capitalize on those opportunities, making sure that we're putting in the diligence to take advantage of data and making better pricing decisions in this changing environment, following the new demand pattern, but also carefully expense by making good staffing decisions with data, and also get new business by highlighting your success quantified against the market. There's one more really powerful opportunity and tool to get really concrete revenue numbers and recovery from your parking assets, and that is automated dynamic pricing. And this is a story we observed from our great strategic partner, ABM Parking, ABM Industries, in multiple of their markets in New York and Chicago. So ABM, obviously, we all know ABM, that they're one of the country's largest parking business management business and operators. They're always in the forward thinking to leverage the technologies to benefit the clients, to see what else we can do. In today's environment, basically our mentality is all that, let's do what we can, right? The world is where it is. There's really not much we can do over there. We let the professional medical professionals to handle the other side of the world when it comes to those things. Let's do what we can to make parking good. So when it comes to that, ABM was able to leverage some of the most advanced tools from Smarking, automated dynamic pricing, for their online sales. As I mentioned earlier in the session, it was pretty clear there was a shift of how consumers anticipate how they use parking. From the data, we saw that online sales is recovering slightly faster than offline parking. And we can, to a certain extent, intuitively understand that, but seeing it from data really validates that thought in different markets, also nationwide. When that happens, how do we take advantage of that? How do we capitalize on that opportunity and then bring in more? Let's say basically the demand is a given on the market. How do we get more for our own locations? Dynamic pricing. So what ABM did was they deployed our dynamic pricing engine, automated yield management. As you can see on this chart on the right-hand side, it's not so clear here, but again, the full case study, the full story is available on our website. Just search Smarking blog on Google and then tab the first, you search ABM, and then it's right there. So this is an example of a New York location where we actually initially, we thought the world is going to be good back in March. We said, let's deploy this, but it was really bad timing. it was really bad timing because once we deployed it, April, we were just way down because of pandemic. But good news is started actually June. This is the lighter bar is last year's revenue. The blue bar is this year's revenue. I think this is on weekly basis for this particular location. As you can see, a monthly basis for this particular. As you can see from June on, we're already beating 2019 numbers because of the dynamic pricing. Again, the demand is a given on the market. Are you adjusting your pricing automatic and fast and granular enough to capitalize on high demand as well as when the demand is low, creating a lot more demand? This is the key. So what they did over there, we were essentially pushing out hundreds of new rates on an hourly basis every day, which to a certain extent, those computation, those execution is humanly impossible to do, but we let our partners there set up the parameters. What is the floor? What is the ceiling? The competitors really help you to set up the parameters and then go from there to turn on the dynamic pricing engine, and then the computer will just work. We can constantly watch the numbers and then see if we want to make adjustments, but computer does the job. And the net result of that is we're seeing year-over-year better results for this entire second half of the year, better than 2019. That is insane. Of course, this is a very special location, I'd say. But obviously, we want more of these locations in our portfolio is how we see it, right? We wanted to get more of this. So similar to this, our partner ABM Parking has been leveraging this tool in some other markets like Chicago and some other markets that we're just expanding right now to produce good results for clients, produce good results for themselves. So I'd say, yeah, even in today's environment, capitalize on online sales by leverage automatic dynamic pricing is the way to go. So I thought quickly tap on the concept of dynamic pricing just to give everybody a little bit more about how this came along and what it really is, because everybody talks about it, but if we go one level deeper just to get under the hood, let's see what is really happening here. The nature of dynamic pricing is, I'd say, fairly straightforward. We all know that the travel industry, the airline hotel industries, they've been doing dynamic pricing for their inventory, the hotel rooms and the airline seats for years, decades. But it has never happened in parking. So back in the end of 2018, we pushed pretty well with our first product, business intelligence platform, and a lot of our partners were getting success out of it. But people were like, hey, Smarking, we're not just satisfied with this. We now got the data. We want to take actions a lot faster. Can you guys help us to do that? So following the same line of thinking of monitoring your pricing impact much more frequently and granularly with data, we say, okay, let's go one step further. Let's make this automatic. Let's really turn this on. Start with some of the smaller revenue portions you have right now, as namely the online sales, and see what is going to happen. So basically, conventionally, we have like 5 rates throughout the day: 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, maybe 4 hours, daily max, early bird, evening rates, weekend. That's it. It does the job, but it doesn't. We're missing out on a lot of opportunities. So instead of doing that, we're pushing out hundreds of new rates every hour, based off millions of transaction records, the data the Smarking business intelligence platform has extracted, calculating all the demand curves, and then push out hundreds of new rates, and basically doing 2 things. One, when the demand is high, we statistically, not for every transaction, we statistically push up rates so that for the same amount of demand, you're getting a lot more from a revenue perspective than just the 1, 2, 3 hours rates. When the demand is low, we're also enabling a lot more options for consumers to basically to come in, create more demand. $1 is better than nothing, especially when we have inventory. So basically, to do those 2 things. Throughout 2019, that was pre-COVID, we were able to deploy at hundreds of new sites across the country. A lot of markets are really good. New York, Chicago, Boston, Miami, San Francisco, it was all really good markets, and we were essentially saying, we published a lot of results. Average before and after for your online sales portion, we partner up with Arrive on this as well, Parkways. Before and after, 100% increase. It's crazy to us. It's unbelievable to us, but it is what happened. So what changed now is in the post-COVID-19 world, we're in even more of a kind of a situation where we say, okay, one more car, whatever we can get, because we have inventory here. A lot less concern in terms of the situation of we overflow the location in today's environment. So we're really going hard on this. On the right hand side, I thought this is an example before COVID. This is a downtown location in Boston. This is actually with our great partner there, VP&E, Valley Park New England. They operate over 100 sites over there with a lot of major hospitals, as well as a lot of major landlords like Boston Properties and so on, to basically all the premium locations in Boston. And they were able to adopt this solution much early on, late 2018, early 2019. And this is one of their locations. What you're seeing is really the weekly revenue on parkways for this particular location. This location is probably making, I don't know, maybe $2 million a year or something like that for a monthly transit and so on. But this is online. As you can see, the year before, the blue curve was about $500 per week. And that is aggregated only $25,000 a year. Second year, there was some organic growth. It went to about $1,000 a week, or roughly $50,000 a year. It's still not so big, but it's not nothing like for this location. But when we turn on, this is when we turn on the dynamic price engine, when AIM, automated yield management, Smarking AIM, went alive. It went into the zone of $3,000 to $4,000 per week, or across the throughout the year, it's $150,000 to $200,000 a year. That made the landlord really happy, because this kind of net operating income, this is net revenue, weekly net revenue. This kind of revenue increase would immediately push up the value of the assets. So we've been seeing a lot of this happening across the market. Although COVID-19 hit, it actually put this more into the forefront of this is some tool we could really leverage. $1 is better than nothing. Imagine we could bring in another, for any given location, another $50,000 to $100,000 net revenue a year. In today's environment, it's not bad at all. So that was dynamic pricing. When it comes to some other, one last thing I'll mention about dynamic pricing is we work with a fairly diversified kind of sort of customer base, and a lot of our partners are in the operators world. Some of them are also in the commercial real estate world. A new trend we're seeing is, even when it comes to the landlords, they're having a tough time as well. Because as you can imagine, although the office lease is always long-term, it's tough. You see the activities like in New York, still 5–10% of activities in the office. People are worried. So a lot of people are saying, okay, now we got to treat parking like a real asset class, not just a supplementary part of our business, but what can we do with parking? What can we get out of our parking assets? A lot of the major landlords started doing that. And not only commercial, but also a lot of residential landlords, they started, especially when it comes to, let's say, the luxury apartment buildings in the downtown area. People are seeing, because of the work from home situation, people are seeing kind of sort of demand dropping a bit in the residential side as well. And then, okay, what can we do? Let's see where we can make money. Parking asset is important. So a lot of the landlords are also trying to, they get the concept of dynamic pricing from many of their other portfolios and so on. So they're searching for this. And a lot of them were basically having expectations. Oh, can we do this as well? We heard stories. Can we do dynamic pricing? Can we get more? So this is happening across the board. And this is just a story of how one of our partners, global real estate investor, multi-billion-dollar investment fund, focused on all kinds of real estate assets, commercial, residential, industrial, and so on. And they've had great success in both New York and Chicago market, and now we're just expanding with them. And this is going to be the expectation from a lot of landlords in the coming year and months. Beyond all of the above, we're also hearing a lot. This is not something that we're tapping on doing right now at Smarking yet, but we're hearing a lot of things from our partners, clients, in terms of their view of how monthly parking programs is going to evolve. Essentially, some of the new challenges emerged as, people are talking about the 3-2-2 work week, basically 3 days in office, 2 days at home, or vice versa, and 2 days, obviously, weekend. That may become a trend. Some other landlords are thinking 1/3 work from home, 1/3 commuting. and 1/3 hybrid. A lot of this kind of signals are coming up, and tenants are cutting leases. This implies both residential and commercial. And when it comes to the pandemic-related shutdowns, there are all kinds of situations in different markets that could impact how the monthly programs are going to work. So the clear thing is what used to work before is not going to work. The unclear thing is how do we in this new situation leverage tools that we have and then actually discover the opportunities, tap into the opportunities, capitalize on opportunities, accelerate recovery before a lot of the others on the market. That is the key. So we don't say we know everything, absolutely we don't, but some of the things we're hearing and seeing happening right now is when it comes to the oversell perspective for monthly. When we say oversell, it doesn't necessarily mean the actual oversell. It's more of the diversity analysis that I understand for particular tenant groups, what is the ratio between the number of spaces you allocate to them, the number of cards you sell to them, how to adjust the pricing and so on. So it becomes a lot more important instead of making the oversell analysis, oversell decisions just based, I think, I thought, I guess, more, let's look at their activities. Okay, we sold them 60 cards. How many people showed up on what days, and how many more we should give them for free or just sell them for a low price, but obviously not everybody's going to show up at the same time. Maximize on that kind of opportunities. It becomes a lot more important for the monthly parkers. And we all know throughout the pandemic, a lot of monthly parkers really supported a lot of our businesses because the transient was gone and the monthlies were really the core. But it's also clear that a lot of people are calling in and say, hey, look, we thought it's going to be back by Labor Day. It's not, we're canceling. No one wanted the cancellations, right? We all wanted to keep them there. How about, oh, you know what? Don't worry about that. We're actually going to give you guys more passes free or for, you know, a lower price, but this is why let's expand our relationship. And those decisions got to be made back up by data, not just how we guess or how we think, right? Another thing was it's pretty clear that in the new world, because of this potential shift of how commuters are going to work, the boundary between transient parking and monthly parking is going to be very blurred. Even today, a lot of people told us, you know, monthly parkings are turning into daily parkers, and it's really hard to tell. Are we gaining the market or are we actually losing the market? It's really hard to tell. So it would be important to have those so-called flexible parking programs in place and with the right technology to enable it. It's pretty clear in today's world, there's no real good technology. Basically, the world has been segmented into either monthly or transient. That was it. But in this new world, technology's got to be put in place to facilitate those new kind of programs. And when it comes to understanding each particular different parker groups, like individual monthly parkers versus tenant groups, how do we segment them? How do we understand them? How do we strategically opening the residential parking to the public? That is very hot in the most recent months, that people are trying to make money off their parking assets. Previously unpaid, now how about we make it paid, so on and so forth. A lot of exciting things are coming out from this zone, and I'd say stay tuned for our Q1 webinar that will share a lot more rather mature thought, observations, and learnings with everybody. Stay tuned for that from the monthly perspective, but this is absolutely happening. So I do want to leave enough time so that we can answer some questions. So let's move forward with so with all of these practices, some of the successful stories in today's tough environment, what we're seeing that is really working, what is really helpful. So if we summarize it, if we put them into one place, it really boils down to three things. Okay, one, we believe you cannot manage what you don't measure. You really need to understand what's going on. You really need to understand what's going on a quantitative level, in a real-time fashion, and on the level of granular understanding of how long people are staying at your sites, and how many people are in that group, what time they're coming in, how much they're paying, is our current pricing fit of capitalizing and maximizing the yield or the revenue output out of that demand? Is our 1, 2, 3 hours and daily max rate still make sense, or we need to do a lot more, we need to have a lot more diligence in building out a lot more comprehensive fee structure and then really put it in place? That takes work, right? But regardless, you got to understand what's happening. And then when it comes to staffing decisions, what is really the demand? How many people are coming in? At what is the peak entry time? How many staff we should really have? What is the right decision to make? The balance between the headcounts versus how many more new locations we can potentially get if we show results to the landlords when it comes to curbing expense, and all of those perspectives comes into that. And the start point is really get a good grasp of your data, and then take it from there to make those decisions. Show to the landlord that, hey, this is how we do work. This is how we make decisions. This is how we manage our assets. It's in this new environment. Opportunities are going to emerge with the shift of landscape, and to capitalize on those business growth and expansion opportunities. This kind of practice is what it takes, and a lot of people are already doing it. Again, if you're not doing it, possibly you're already behind. Beyond understanding what is really happening on quantity level at your own sites, what is happening across the world, on the market, in my region, across the country? How do my locations benchmark against the market? Am I doing better? How much better? At what during what time frame? How can I highlight such success to the new businesses, to my current customers, to let them know that, hey, even the environment is bad, we have a resilience here. We're helping to recover as fast as possible. We're actually doing a pretty good job. Leverage off industry benchmark, benchmark your location against the market, and then really expand the business from there. At the end of the day, personally, I believe at Smarking, we believe that parking people deserve the best tools. Parking people should have dynamic pricing, and we should be able to leverage off those latest state-of-the-art technology. And that's what Smarking is here for. We're here for you to do that. So with the dynamic pricing engine, we would want you to add another $50,000, $100,000 a year to your locations in this upcoming year. And it's really a kind of set and forget kind of solution. You turn it on, set up the parameter. It's really a combination of human supervision, computer do the work, and you just turn it on, let it work. Why do we need to spend time to do those data entry work? Let the computer do it. But it's a really powerful tool. And again, case studies from many customers and partners on our website. Take a look. Coming into 2021, I'd say, again, before we wrap up the session here and then take on some of the questions, this winter is gonna be tough. We saw the second wave impact pretty clearly. I'd say when it comes to that, our urge to everybody in the industry, to our friends, partners in the industry, and to ourselves is parking is not going to go away. It's going to be here for a long time, and people are going to rely on drive and park for a significant amount of time, regardless of what. That's just the perception. It's going to happen. So we got to be prepared for that. Let's survive. Survive is number one. And how to do that, capture every possible opportunity we can to do these things. There's probably no silver bullet, but there are a lot of things we could leverage off. And just like what we went through, a lot of success stories around, that is what we should be doing. That is what the anticipation from the landlords, the municipality, mobility leaders, a lot of people anticipate and expect this from parking operator folks as well. So I'd say Smarking will be here for you. We have some of the best technology. I'd bracket about it a little bit, world class actually, from data science standpoint, from software development standpoint. Call us. We're right here. 20 minutes meeting, book a 20 minutes meeting with us. Just, if you want to talk more about what we went through today and see if there's a fit for your business and so on, we're going to be here. Sales marketing, my colleague Sarah, who actually helped us to facilitate today's session. You can just email her at sarah@smarking.com. Any other inquiries, contact, and a lot of friends actually on the session have my personal email. Feel free to reach out. Would love to hear from everyone. And again, let's survive this pandemic together and coming out stronger together. Cool, that's it. That's all I have for today. Let's see if there's any questions. If not, we can just wrap it up and give 15 minutes back to everybody. And yeah, hope everybody has a really wonderful holiday season. We all probably earned this. So yeah, happy holidays. And I'll see everybody in 2021. Sarah, do we have any questions? We're good?
Hey, yes, we have a few questions out here.
Okay,
They're
I'm
in
not.
the
Yeah, if you could feed them to me, that'd be really amazing. Thank you. I'm
Yes,
not
so the
seeing.
first one is from Andrew Sachs. How much of the recovery data is impacted by New York City, which is much stronger than most regions? Does it make the rest look better on a national level?
Amazing question. Thanks, Andrew, for the question. So from a data sample pool perspective, let me brand it out. But short answer is for off-street locations, we're sampling about 940 plus locations across North America. And within that, we only sampled about 20 plus locations in New York. So from a data sample pool perspective, I'd say it's pretty even across the country, across North America. Hopefully that answers the question. And I would say when it comes to industry benchmark, we take a kind of sort of opting opt-out approach. So for our customers and partners, if you opt in, you will see your location will participate anonymously. And if you decided to opt out, perfectly cool, completely your call. But yeah, back to the question, New York, nationwide, 20 plus locations versus 940 plus locations from a data sample size perspective. Any other questions?
Yes, I sent them to you on Slack, so you have them there as well. But the next question is from Jim. He asked if there is presence in Canada. Is ski data parking equipment integration possible with Smarking solutions?
Wonderful. So we do have clients in Canada, and the ones that we could share here, Easy Park in Vancouver, they're official operator for a city, over 130 sites, I think, in the entire Vancouver region. We work work with some of the folks in Toronto, both on the operator side as well as on ownership side. We have airport clients in Canada. Edmonton Airport is one of our clients. So yeah, from an equipment standpoint, the answer is yes. We work with skated equipment, different versions across the entire North America, and now even in Australia in coming days. And we have a direct interaction or integration built again with their tech team with the different versions of the product. So absolutely. Beyond that, we today work with just north of 50 brands when it comes to parking access revenue control systems, mobile payment solutions, pay stations, meters, LPR, EV charge stations, like ChargePoint and so on. All of these are data sources that we work with.
Awesome. And the next question here is from Krister. He asks, how do you communicate dynamic pricing for drive up?
Great question. So when it comes to dynamic pricing, what I refer to in the deck is the particular tool, automatic dynamic pricing engine for Smarking, automated yield management. Today we applied it onto online sales. For drive apps, to be honest, there are more challenges. On one hand, from the parker behavior, so there's going to be a process. So today, to clarify, Smarking's automatic dynamic pricing engine is applied on online sales as a focus. The drive up offline trends and dynamic pricing is on the roadmap, but it's not in action today yet. When it comes to the consideration of offline drive up dynamic pricing, it takes multiple things to make it work. One of the key things that online could work is consumers could respond to the change price a lot faster than offline, because they don't need to drive over there and then see it. That is where the online sales platform like Arrive and Parkway is coming to play to make it really easy for consumers. And they spend a lot of marketing money to get those consumers onto their platform. So the response rate, the speed of consumers is really fast to help you to close that feedback loop. When it comes to offline drive up, if we have to drive over and then see it, it's gonna take a lot of time, and the consumers just they don't really respond to that very quickly. Number two is when it comes to execution of the rates. So we push hundreds of new rates on an hourly basis to this platform, Arrive Parkways. It takes real technology capability to handle that kind of workload. A lot of the other platforms, they just don't have that capability. When it comes to offline equipment, unfortunately, there is going to be a process for the equipment to get to that point. There are some newer ones coming up that we heard, marketing message perspective, they're getting there, but we got to give our friends in the parks world a little bit of time to be able to handle that. Today, maybe each of us have like 2, 3 rates table. Each of them have like 5, 10 rates in it. That execution part is going to take some time. And then the third, I'd say, is algorithm. The way, because the nature or the way consumers are going to behave on the online platform is going to be very different from offline drive ups. So the algorithm behind it is going to have to be different. The way the high yield, high demand kind of sort of a situation, and the low demand to create a lot more options situation for online is going to be completely different when it comes to offline drive ups. The good news is today, in today's world, there's a lot more parkers just driving up transient from a revenue distribution activity standpoint. So we'll have to design something and put something in action completely different for that portion of the demand. But that is on our roadmap. Hopefully 2021 we can get onto that.
Got it. Awesome. All right. The last question we have here is from Mario, and he's asking about the trends in Southern California. So Wen, I'm not sure if you want to pull up and show a few, but I do have the data here in front of me. For offline off-street parking revenue, Los Angeles is about negative 75% year over year right now. Back in April, they were around 95%. And just so everyone here does know, we do publish this data publicly on our website almost every single week. You can also subscribe to our newsletter, and we send you data every single week. So we have on-street and offline, on-street and off-street transactions, revenue, and activity for regional information. So we have Houston, Austin, Boston, LA, and much more if you'd like to take a closer look there.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sarah. So can you guys still see my screen here?
Yes.
Wonderful. Yeah. So to Sarah's point, back in April, we were really, from a transient standpoint, we had less than 4% of the revenue from transient back in April. The recovery went back to really good. In October, we were more than 60% recovered. The second wave was real. November was a bit down. December right now, even worse than November, unfortunately. But I'd say the month is not completed yet. We don't know how the December is going to shape out, but back in November, the full month, we were back down to 67% recovered. But this is transient revenue. From a transaction standpoint, you can have some visibility here as well. And Mario, if you're interested, we can set this up for you pretty easily, just so that you can tap into this whenever you want it on your laptop. And if we take a look at contract or the monthly parkers, let's just take a quick look at the activities here. Yeah, people were not coming back to work. Seems like even at the peak recovery, we were only about 40 or so % recovered. So yeah, it'll take some time. From the news we hear, Southern California is one of the major zones where COVID impacted very, very heavily. We see that reflected from parking. It's unfortunate, but again, we're in this together. Call us up if you see that technology could help you. We have hopes, even in today's environment, new businesses making better decisions on pricing, staffing, dynamic pricing, turn it on, a lot of these things. We do what we can, right? I just say the message is really, we do what we can. Smarking is here for you. We see some things that we could do, and let's definitely get onto them. Any other questions?
That was all.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Really appreciate, I felt a lot of camaraderie from the entire industry, the community throughout this whole pandemic. We were very worried in the beginning, and now we're just, again, surviving together with everybody. Let's do this. Again, wish everybody a really happy holiday, and I'll see you guys in 2021. It'll be better. Bye, everyone.